Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, all right.
I can hear.
Well,
Sorry.
welcome, everyone. This is subcommittee meeting, Douglas County Board of Commissioners, Criminal Justice Committee meeting. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry it's so late in the afternoon. We had other meetings creeping up into this, and I wanted to make sure we weren't going to be too late. So this is an open and public meeting. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the wall, I believe, by the front door of 903 here. And I wanted to open this by saying just a couple of things. What we normally do in most committee meetings, but this one in particular, I like to just start off with brief department updates and then whatever we have as far as our, I guess, featured information point, which I guess today would be emergency management. I'm going to try to keep this at about 1 hour because I know we're all busy. And like I said, this is a late meeting. So what we will start off with is those department updates. And some of our departments are here, some aren't. I know Department of Corrections will start there, and Mike and Amber are here, so go ahead.
Okay, and I'll apologize in advance. When I am done, I need to excuse myself due to a schedule conflict. So, but I'll cover a bit of ground. As the board is aware, I've been talking more and more about the threats of fentanyl and now a substance called carfentanil, which very potent, deadly substances which are in the community. And we've not that we know of have ever had any carfentanil in the facility, but we have had people have overdoses of fentanyl. So I wanted to talk briefly, and I want to give a very loud and clear disclaimer that these are, was just going to kind of give some information about what technologies are available that we are going to be looking at. My disclaimer is this has not been put out to bid. This is not an endorsement of this project. It's just an example of what we're kind of looking at in order to continue to bolster our contraband interdiction efforts. The first handout that I'm passing around is a millimeter wave. It is a similar to what you would see at the airport when you lift your hands above your head. And it basically is just going to alert. This would be used on staff, volunteers, contractors, et cetera, that come into the facility. Basically just alerts an area without showing the actual anatomy of the person. Our body scanners that we use for inmates actually show us, you can make out their internal, structures and so forth. So this is very fast. It uses artificial intelligence to alert you to areas. And I believe that this one even has the ability to be operated remotely if we were not staffed like we are currently. Staff could go through this and then, or like central control could be alerted that, hey, we need to stop this person. So this would be an opportunity if to be able to operate this without having an additional staff member present. And then the next handout is basically a CT X-ray scanner for possessions. So our staff are allowed to bring clear bags with their food and so forth in it, and different things coming in and out of the jail all the time in terms that are permitted. This is also pretty quick, and this would be our, we would also very similar to what you'd experience at TSA, but this, as opposed to searching the person, searches their possessions. And then lastly, and we kind of had to create this handout ourselves online, but this is basically an electronic version of a drug sniffing dog. And it's called the Foxhound. And this has a lot of advantages over drug dogs. For one, they don't get tired. Drug dogs, 15 to 20 minutes in or so, maybe 30 minutes if you're lucky. That's kind of the limit as to what they can search at one time. This technology also is constantly updated with new substances. As we know, a lot of the substances today are ones that are generated in the lab, and they're all a little bit different, so they emit a different smell. Dogs are not necessarily going to be able to keep up with that technology change, or those scents that are changing. This is linked to like a nationwide system of these machines, so that if a new substance shows up in Los Angeles, our equipment in Omaha will be able to detect it and identify what it is. So those are three items that we are looking to hopefully get approved in our budget for the upcoming year. The millimeter wave is approximately 150,000, as is the CT scanner for the luggage, or for not luggage, but possessions. And then the drug sniffing, I should say drug identifying device. There's some variance on that, but it's anywhere from 40 to 80,000, depending upon how many bells and whistles you want with the machine. So all three of those together is under 400,000. We are going to investigate to see if we can use opioid settlement funds rather than county tax dollars. We're aware that those funds have been used in other jurisdictions to purchase equipment such as this. Along these lines, we've started to track the amount of times that we administer Narcan. We started tracking that at the beginning of the year. In January, we administered Narcan to 2 people, a total of 6 doses. In February, it was 4 people and 16 doses were required. And in March, there were 5 people and 16 doses were required. We have a meeting with a company called Indivior on May 1st to potentially to go into a pilot program. There's another opioid antidote called Opvi, which this company produces. It has some advantages in that, as you can tell, there's some, we've had to use as many as 6 doses of Narcan on people at times, because whatever substance is in their system is that potent, and it outlasts the Narcan. Opvi has a half-life that is about 6 times the length of Narcan. There is the one advantage to Narcan is that its time of effectiveness is a little bit less. Narcan is under 2 minutes from when you administer it to when the person starts responding. Opvi is 2.5 to 5 minutes. Opvi is almost twice as expensive, but when you consider that you only have to do 1 dose versus several of Narcan, it may actually turn out to be cheaper. And we get a lot of this. Our Narcan is provided by the state at no cost to us at this point anyway. We have seen, I've researched, there's a study where they actually used these 2 antidotes in conjunction with each other. Do use Narcan on the first dose because it's faster. And if they still need a further intervention after the first dose of Narcan, then do Opvi, and Opvi carries them through the episode. This morning at the board meeting, we talked about our GED graduates. We had a couple of people, a graduate and his mother, come attend the board meeting. Just some brief stats. We've had 36 GED graduates in the past year. And one of the things that I've been highlighting is, we currently 72 active students and 107 on the wait list. And we hope to engage with the board on how we can shorten that wait list and have more success stories like the ones that we shared this morning. And lastly, I'll just pass around some photos on our construction update for our mental health edition. We have last week was kind of a big week because it was the first time we actually saw something go vertical. These. What you'll see in these photos, the first photo is actually sections of precast. This is was the first stair and elevator tower being constructed. The precast concrete sections were being delivered on flatbed semis. Second photo is the crane lifting them into place. The third photo is not quite a finished product, but it was what it was like at the end of last week, and it's actually another floor taller than that now. That additional floor upwards is being installed literally as we speak. And the final photo is just a photo of the they had to remove the exterior brick and some of and different things in order, this is where the existing building is connecting to the new. So it's just showing that gray area is where they spent time basically jackhammering all of the bricks off of the exterior of the wall right there, at least the facade anyway, so that they can make the connections. They've also been doing some steel work on top of the existing jail to build the hallway, which will connect on that level from the existing facility to the new one. That's what I got.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And in the room, Commissioner Kavanaugh has joined me, and I know Commissioner Fahey is online. Any questions for Director Myers here in the room, first of all? Yeah, Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thanks for this, Mike. The Narcan injections, I think you say are running like 4 to 6 a month or something.
Yeah, people, but sometimes the doses it can take several doses per person.
Okay, that would indicate that at least enough. Are these all opioid related?
That I can't tell you 100%. I'm going to tell you that most of them are. We deliver, and I still haven't teased this data out from our medical department yet, so that'll yet to come. But we've started. If anybody's not starting to act incoherent, or they're not, Narcan doesn't hurt you. So rather we kind of issue Narcan or it's a nasal spray. If you're starting to come unresponsive, we give you the Narcan, whether you may not have actually ended up needing it or not, but we're going to give it to you because we don't know, and time is of the essence with the opioids, in the community today.
But that's its main use, is that
Correct.
right?
Yeah, it's only effective on opioids.
Okay. Do we take blood samples from these individuals?
So they'll be sent out to the hospital, and that's one of the issues that's been a little frustrating, is getting there's times that they will not, we're not getting access or getting the records from the hospitals as to what their tests have come back as, or they're not even doing the test,
Okay. Because it would seem to be, it would be kind of important to know whether or not they actually tested for opioid use.
Yes, we know it in some occasions, and some occasions we don't have test results.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think it's better to be safe than sorry if someone's
Yes.
having a seizure like that and it doesn't have any adverse effects to utilize that. We haven't lost anybody to an opioid.
no, we have not.
overdose.
Right. This isn't wood, but I'm knocking on it anyway.
Have there been opioids seized that would indicate that there could be the capacity for somebody to overdose it?
We have found like trace amounts of different of substances that have tested positive. But we haven't located fentanyl or opioids in any. Amber, you can correct me if my memory's failing me, but we haven't recovered substances in like a sufficient quantity. And mainly what we're getting is residue, after the fact.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else in the room with any questions for Director Myers or Amber? I don't see any. Anybody on Zoom? Seeing none. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it. And thanks for your time this morning. I know you probably have to duck out. By the way, between, if people have to come and go, that's fine. We're not gonna keep notes. Are we?
I'm not.
No, we're not gonna take notes. If you have to leave after a presentation, go, feel free. Yeah, with that, Kathy, I think you're online and, a little bit about 911, Douglas County 911.
Sure. Good afternoon. We are in the middle of Telecommunicators Appreciation Week, so we have some fun events planned for our staff, and some of our vendors are bringing in lunch. So it's a good week. With that being said, we are still answering 90% of our calls within or less than 10 seconds or less. The other thing is we're in the middle of hiring. Again, the good news is that we've had more applicants. I believe we had over 200 applicants for our operators and dispatcher jobs. We've been doing interviews. We've had about 75 interviews, and this is the first time in a very, very long time that we've been able to be pretty picky with who we hire. So it's an uptrend for our department anyway. I don't know how the other departments are doing, but with that being said, that's about all I have to update. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thanks, Director Allen. Are there any questions in the room for Kathy? Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Kathy, thanks for the good work that you do. Just real quick regarding this staffing issue, we get regular reports from different departments. This morning we had corrections relative to their authorized staff and their on-hand staff, percentages. What would, if you could say, be the status of your authorized staff versus on-hand staff right now?
Sure. So for our admin staff is all full, but for our dispatchers, we just recently went down 5. We have 5 openings out of 49 authorized. And those were mostly due to retirements. We've had a lot of retirements. And our operators, we are down 2 and we're authorized 19. So same thing. We've had a lot of retirements. And so with this next group of hires, we should be at our allowed staffing.
With the dispatchers, what's the authorized level?
49,
49.
and we're down 5.
And you indicated that you've had adequate applications to fill these positions?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're gonna have to, normally we're kind of going with some people that we don't know whether they're gonna be successful or not. With the applicants we've had and the interviews we've done, we're real pleased with the quality of people, as well as most of them that we're going to be hiring have had previous dispatch experience, so.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else in the room? Any questions for Kathy Allen? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, and Kathy, the only thing I was going to ask you, and it piggybacks a little bit on what Commissioner Kavanaugh said. These things fluctuate a little bit. Most of the difficulty is when you bring somebody in, especially from a dispatch standpoint, they're overnight hours, right? I mean, so do you attribute, why do you think under this circumstance at this time, why does it feel a little bit better? I mean, what do you think? You've been doing it a while.
I think it's the climate of our government and what's going on in the world. I think that people are looking for good jobs right now.
Okay, I think we just opining a little bit. I think it's an advantage that we can offer them some stability, and then you can give them timeframes about how long they'd actually have to be, overnight, and they can see the light beyond the trees, stuff like that, I would think.
Correct. It's a lot different. When everybody got to work from home, that was a real challenge for us because we absolutely can't. So now that people are coming back to work in the office a little bit, I think that's helped a little bit also.
Okay, well, thanks Kathy, and thanks for it's already been said, but thanks for the work you're doing. Appreciate it. And thanks for the time. If you have to jump off, I get it. And we'll move on to C, we'll move into the courts. Is Pam, I didn't see Pam. Oh, there she is. County courts, I guess, is first. Pam.
Good afternoon. Little update on staffing. We have 12 judges. We were down 2 judges for approximately 3-4 months. So we're finally fully staffed now with our judges. Clerical staff, we have 83 employees. We're currently down about 7 positions, and a couple in probate, a couple in civil small claims, and then in our criminal traffic, but a total of 7 down. So that's been really positive because we had been down 16, 17 positions. So that's really increased. We've been going through an accounting audit at this time. And then we have our wonderful budget that we've been working on, struggling a little bit. We have really, our court-appointed attorney fees have really skyrocketed. So we've been trying to finagle the budget best we can. So that's about all I have.
Okay, thanks, Pam. Any questions from anyone in the room for Pam? Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. And thanks for coming here today. This is a good update of these FTEs. Did I hear it correctly? You're authorized for 83 or you currently have 83?
We're authorized for 83. We're down like 7 positions.
Okay. And you've posted for these currently?
Yes, yes. We're posting and interviewing.
What kind of positions are you talking about?
Well, we have like our records cashier, the cashiers in the clerk's office, where people come in and pay the tickets. We're down a couple positions there, and then also over in civil small claims. So they're clerical records positions, and probate the same thing.
Yeah. And as far as the court-appointed attorney fees, I think we increased the hourly compensation for that maybe a year ago or
No,
so.
ours were last increased in 2022.
22.
In May
Okay.
of 2022.
And does that account for the budget bump that you're talking about?
Well, we had a supplement that we had to get for the attorney fees, but then we're also looking at increasing because we're way below everyone else. If you look at Lancaster, Sarpy, and even district court, we're like our criminal cases, they're at 65 an hour, and our probate are 85 an hour, and everyone else is running like 125 an hour. So we're really far below the standard hourly rate as it is, but then it just skyrocketed, increased the number of cases, and a lot of the probate cases, just the hourly that attorneys spend on each case, it just made everything skyrocket.
So are you anticipating requesting that we come up to the regional average?
We're coming up a little, we know we have to, it'd be a gradual, you can't.
Right.
So yeah, we have something prepared for president.
For this year.
For this one, yes, correct.
Thank you.
You bet.
I'm sure we'll be seeing that in a few weeks,
We'll
right?
be seeing it in a few weeks, exactly.
Any other questions in the room for Pam? On Zoom, any questions for Pam Cardenas? Pam, thanks for the info. Appreciate it. And Sherry, I think you're behind me. That scared me. District Court, go ahead.
I'll just kind of follow Pam's lead. We have 18 judges. We just had a new appointment end of March, so we are back to full strength on judges. As far as staff, we have 41 and a half Douglas County employees in the courts. The court reporter are state employees, so I don't include those in my head count. So 41 and a half, and that's full staff. Budget wise, coming up, we have 2 courtrooms that are being built by the Douglas County Building Commission, so that all of our judges will have a jury box in their courtroom. Those are both being built on the 6th floor of the courthouse. One is seating 84 people in the gallery, I believe, and the other one, if I remember correctly, it's 65. Also within that project is a jury assembly space that is gonna go on Harney level of the courthouse, and depending on how long you've been here, you might remember that's where it used to be. So we're going full circle with the jury assembly space, and that is gonna seat just under 350 people. I've been told,
Where's that gonna be?
where the juvenile county attorney's office was, right across from the elevators on the Hall of Justice,
That's empty.
where I think the election commissioner was there one time, so.
Right.
Bring the courts back in. That, I know I have my projected date. I thought they told me it would be done in mid-July for that. And the courtrooms, we were told would be completed in early 2026, which means I'm gonna need money in my budget for furniture for those courtrooms. So without saying much more, I look forward to seeing you in June.
The state pays for that.
Not furniture.
Ah,
Don't ask me the statute.
Yeah.
We are also taking over part of the Board of Mental Health. And that is something that we have been working through with the Board of Mental Health members and also with the clerk's office, clerk of the district court's office. We are trying to get some standard operating procedures in place for the people that will be working for the Board of Mental Health. And then in conjunction with the budget office and Patrick's office, we've talked about taking over the payment of the Board of Mental Health members, and that would be effective July 1st. And I have worked with Crystal and her staff on how we move those people over so that on July 1st, that starts with us.
Okay.
I'm sure we have a lot more going on. Those are my highlights. If you have questions.
No, you guys are efficient. That's perfect. Any questions from anyone in the room? Anyone on Zoom? I don't see any, Sherry. Thank you.
I'm gonna excuse myself then so I can
Okay.
finish working on my budget and appreciate being here.
Where's Lori? Are you gonna be working with her?
I'm sure Lana will.
All right. Thank you. Thank you,
so
Sherry.
much. Have a great afternoon.
I see Deputy Chief Wren, or excuse me, Nemok. You guys look the same on Zoom.
That's a
I don't
compliment.
know if that's an insult to you or to Will Wren. Go ahead, Chief.
I'll just give a quick update on our staffing as well. Right now, we are 3 below our authorized staffing. We're as of today, I think, posting for lateral recruits that'll be open for the next 4 weeks. We've through recruiting have garnered what seems to be hopeful, at least. I don't want to count anything before it happens, but seems to be a lot of interest in that. And so we're hopeful there for high quality candidates to choose from. We'll follow that up with a new recruit posting process probably sometime in August or September. But right now we're sitting at 156 total sworn. That's from the sheriff on down to the newest of new deputies. We recently lost 2 deputies. One failed FTO or field training process, and one had repeated problems and ended up failing in the academy. So as good as recruiting is going, what I always tell our recruiters and tell our trainers is that we're not sacrificing quantity for quality in that respect, that there's still, in every position throughout each department, obviously, but especially with us, is, the need to adhere to a, high level of expectations. And so those 2 absences were somewhat contrary to our past. We've enjoyed 100% pass rate at the academy and 100% pass rate through our field training process, but we knew that isn't the standard. It isn't necessarily something that you hope for, but you realize it can't always be attained. But we're also facing 6 retirements this calendar year. Senior people eligible to retire, And they'll be staged kind of periodically. We've had one already. We anticipate one more in July and the rest between July and December. So quite a bit of movement there. And then also we'll have one anticipated resignation, fantastic deputy. He loves it here, but his wife just finished dental school. Their family's down from New Mexico. And so they just had their firstborn and they'll be moving back with a job that she has found for dentistry back in New Mexico, kind of more near to family. But we'll hate to see him go, but he leaves Deputy Gonzalez. He works courts. Some of you may know him from county court. Does a fantastic job, and he'll be missed. But yeah, add all that together, that's where the need for that lateral and new recruit processes through this remainder of the calendar year will kind of come into play. And then we should be pretty much shored up by the end of all that equation. But outside of that, nothing too much else to pass on that you probably don't already know. Unless you have questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Any questions from anyone in the room here? I don't see any. Anybody on Zoom have any questions for Chief Nemok? Will, the only thing I had is when one of us gets approached out in the street, somebody asks, "Hey, is the sheriff's department hiring?" Are we only addressing lateral hires right now? So what if there's somebody who just graduated from UNO or something like that? Are we moving that around a little bit, or is it pretty much just lateral at this point?
That's a great question. There's a blanket answer, and there's also an opportunity that I'll bring up to anyone that's interested. But the blanket answer would be steer them to our recruiting website. We recently created a recruiting website. So we have our main website that .com just got done remaking. They did a great job. Very appreciative of their efforts. Jim Delinsky and his team did just a A++ job in both directions. But what we before redoing that main website, we created a recruiting website to basically answer a lot of those questions, and we steer people to that. That's just teamdcso.org, and so then that allows a viewer of that website to basically click one button and they could contact a recruiter, and then all of my recruiting team it gets that email prompt to say, hey, this person contacted us through the recruiting website and with this question or with their contact information. But right now, we're just posting for laterals. That means they have to be a certified law enforcement officer. But we're also recruiting through that to that September timeframe of when we will post for new recruits. So a person that, to your example, Commissioner, from UNO or from Metro or just off the street that has interest, that they'll be able to apply late. It'll be, and that time isn't written in stone either. It may be late spring, it may be early summer. I'm not for sure, but it'll be somewhere in that time frame that we'll post for new recruits. And in between now and then, we're recruiting we have a lot of interest there too. A lot of people contacting us through that recruiting website. And we'll be posting further like instructional, both information and videos of how to train for the physical portion of the test for the new recruits and how to accomplish and get through the written exam portion, things like that will prep them for prior to. But one further step I could take, if anybody has interest, just reach out and let me know. Excuse me, is we're they're not printed yet, but they're soon to be. That it's a business card, for lack of a better way to put it. It's a business card that has all that recruiting information on it, to include the link to the recruiting website, link to our main website, information, just general information about the sheriff's office. And that way, what I plan on doing is distributing those cards, just a regular sized business card, to deputies, first and foremost, because oftentimes they may not be on the recruiting team, but they're out and about and they see somebody, they're at a wedding reception working part-time, something like that, or just in the grocery store, say, hey, you work for the sheriff's office, are you guys hiring? They may not have that specific answer, the timeframes, but they can pull out that card and say, well, I'm not for sure, but here's all the information you know. Go to that website right there that's listed, and it'll cue you into every Q&A that you can think of, in a way to contact a recruiter that has all that information. And so I could also, if anyone's interested, distribute those cards to you, and just to have on hand, pull out of the pocket for those maybe rare circumstances that people have interest. But we've seen in kind of a test run of that, we've seen a lot of success and interest in that, throughout both sworn and for our civilian positions as well.
Yeah, Chief, I think that's a good idea. I haven't seen those cards, but yeah, I think we can get a hold of some of those. The biggest question I'm getting is, I don't know a bunch of laterals who have approached me, but just me personally, maybe it's because my kids are that age, guys and gals graduating from college going into the sheriff's department hiring. We hand them that card, they can dig into it a little bit. If August and September are the timeframes, then that's
That's
probably
loosely,
pretty
I'd say
timely.
probably July or August, maybe even more accurate. It's going to come up. We want to be on top of it because those new recruits will be hired in preparation for a January academy. They'll go to the law enforcement academy in January. So all that is in
Okay.
advance for that 2026 academy date. So usually for something like that, we will hire them in the month of December, so that there's about 2 weeks of initial training that they'll receive prior to going to the academy.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the info, Chief. Any other questions for Deputy Chief Nemok? I don't see any. Thanks for the time.
But thank you.
All right, let's move to the Douglas County Emergency Management, and Whitney is here, and I'm just gonna let you run because that's what you do.
That's what I do.
Um,
I'll run slowly today.
all right,
Okay, what I wanted to talk to you about today is emergency weather notification. To give you some context about where the sirens sit, and then put on your radar screen some considerations for, if not this year, the near future. We're at a point in the history of the sirens where it's time to make some long-term decisions. But before we do that, let me just paint a picture for you of where those fit in the big scheme of things. Right now, these are the variety of ways that residents in Douglas County can learn of severe weather that's impending. We're familiar with the sirens. We'll talk about that in a second. The second is wireless phone alerts. If you've had the opportunity to live inside of the warned area during a tornado or severe thunderstorm, you might have already received one of these. These are a loud notice that sounds like an Amber Alert. It's the same emergency alert you get on your phone. Those are issued by the National Weather Service. They're auto-generated from a signal. It's the same signal that our sirens pick up now. So we don't send those, in other words. Those are going out regardless. We don't touch it. It just happens. Likewise, the weather radio broadcast is also a product that comes from the National Weather Service that we don't have anything to do with. And the weather radio is what we have traditionally promoted to people as the most reliable means of receiving weather notification. That's the one that we promote first of all. We promote all of these, however, because all of them, including the weather radio broadcast, have points of failure. And so we always recommend, and will continue to recommend in the future, that you don't rely exclusively on sirens, but rather all of these things. And with regard to the weather radio broadcast, you don't necessarily have to have the physical radio to get that broadcast. You can live stream it free on your computer, and there are various apps that broadcast companies will rebroadcast that signal for a few dollars. There are also private phone applications that you can get, and then broadcast media, of course, broadcast live, and then they themselves have applications. So a myriad of ways that people can get information. The only one of those that we are responsible for is the outdoor warning sirens. And if Kim changes the slide here, I wanted you to be aware of where those sit in terms of the history and things, tough decisions we might have to make at some point. Let me say right now, there are 126 sirens, and I'm thrilled to tell you that as of today, they all work. They will work tomorrow. We have no current problems with the system whatsoever. Our current strategy since I've been here for 15 years has been if they break, we fix them, and we wait until they break to fix them. That's worked. Not a problem, other than what has come to our attention recently is that 17 of those sirens, and that would be the ones that are in the middle here. Let me just paint a picture. Of the 3 sirens that are there on the left, these are the 3 that we have. The one from the 1950s era is in King Lake. It's the only one of its type. It's not rotational, but that also means it hasn't been subject to mechanical failure.
All right, that
So it's
works?
okay. That one works.
Okay.
But it has no moving parts, which is why it stood this test of time rather well. So we've replaced the computer piece on it. So that piece is current and talks to our system. The mechanical piece of it, we have no wear and tear on it because it's not fixed, which is great. The one in the middle is the one that's the problem right now. These were the ones that, for the most part, there were a few inside the city of Omaha, but for the most part, these were ones that the county took on when the county annexed the entire fire system in about 1988. So for example, some of these were in Bennington or in Valley. They were in surrounding areas where they were not ones that the county put in, but when the county took over the system in 1988, we inherited those, and some of them are a bit older. The ones on the right is by far the bulk of our sirens. Those were put in with the Homeland Security Initiative in the early, like 2002, 2003. The newest of those, the American Signal, those are designed to have, the manufacturer tells me, about a 40-year life expectancy if you do regular maintenance on them. And that's the point we're at now that I wanted to paint this picture. We're at a point now, we are 20 years into the newest of the sirens, and we have no maintenance program for those. We just fix them when we break them, or yeah, we fix them when they're broken. That's that. But the problem I have at the moment is the ones in the middle, and of which there are 17 of those. We have learned in the past year, since we talked about this, that Federal Signal, there are no longer replacement parts for those sirens. So if any one of those 17 fails, the good news is over time, we've been able to replace the computer part, but the horn of the siren, which you can tell is quite old, that's subject to the wear and tear from the weather rotation. If one of those goes down now, we do not have the means to replace that. They just simply don't make them anymore. There are 17 of them, and that was the first of the recommendations I have here, but let me continue on with that. Like I said, 83 of those were installed with the Homeland Security and the one we mentioned in King Lake. Regardless of who put them in, once the county took them over in 1988, the county pays all maintenance fees. So as of now, if somebody were to put a new siren in a development area, the developer puts them in, but then we take on the maintenance of that. So obviously, any of those newer ones that have been put in the past few years are going to last a good long time. What we do for them now on a regular basis is if we happen to be out there replacing a mechanical issue, we replace the radio battery in it as well. So battery replacement is the cheapest of the things. And we do that. When I say battery replacement, that's not battery to sound the siren. It's the battery so that the siren radio will talk back to us. For the ones that talk back to us, that brings up the next issue. Because we haven't done some regular maintenance, we have had situations where the diagnostics on them are not, jump line misalignment. There's a different radio frequency that sounds them than the frequency that they talk back to us. So the good news is we've never had a problem sounding them. The outgoing signal was just fine. But we have not done maintenance over the years that the company tells us would have been necessary to allow them to talk back. So right now we have a diagnostic software where only half of those half of the sirens talk back to us and tell us that they're having problems, which is fine. They go off. But that means we're not doing any preventive maintenance on them because we can't tell what's wrong with them. They just simply don't talk back to us. Current issues as well with the ones that are going down, we sometimes see things like various electronic pieces inside that go wrong. That in and of itself is not that expensive to do. That's hundreds of dollars to fix. What we're finding more and more, though, in this last category is the physical wear and tear to the brush heads and the rotors and the pole brackets. These rotational sirens are just subject to severe weather over time. They take the cold, hard freezes, the wind wears, and those over time. When we have to have a repair in the bell of the siren, which is fairly new over the past few years, that's more expensive because we have to rent a bucket truck for that. So now we're getting into probably a $2,000 fix instead of a hundreds of dollars fix. So in summary, we're at a point where we have 17 that if they break tomorrow, we're just simply not going to be able to fix them. And the majority of them fall in that other category of they're about 20 years old and starting to get mechanical damage in the horn, which is fine. We can fix it as they break, but just know that that's getting a little bit more expensive as time goes on, but not critical. Again, if we sound them tomorrow, they're all going to go off. Now, What we don't have is encryption, and that is a bit of a security concern potentially. You might recall in Dallas several years ago, somebody was clever and figured out how to set all the sirens off at once, and that was an issue. It's been brought to our attention that it has happened here. Someone has cracked the code on how to sound the sirens, and we were not able to corroborate that, but the company confirmed that yes, if someone has the signal and you could sound the siren if you choose to sound the siren. So it's possible. Is that a concern? That depends. It's just something that you need to know as an option. The frequency misalignment is an issue for diagnostics. And only, like I said, they're going to go off fine now. It's just that right now they don't talk back to us. So frequently I'll get a call and somebody said, well, the siren went off. Can we check it? First I call 911 because most people will call and mention it to Kathy's folks. And that's one way to check. But then ideally I would go to the computer system, and we can check the diagnostics to see if it sounded. If it's one of those ones that don't talk back to us, I can't check. I can't tell because it won't show a record that it sounded. The good news is it sounded because the outgoing frequency was fine, but the siren did not talk back to us in a way where I could confirm, yes, it went off or it didn't. So again, it's not a problem. They're going off. It's just that the kind of diagnostics that would allow us to do any sort of predictive maintenance on them just doesn't exist. So in terms of recommendations to put on your radar screen, on the next screen, Kim, there are really two issues afoot. Let's do the second one first. The $70,000 for encryption and routine maintenance is the one that puts the encryption cards in each siren so that they cannot be hacked, and assures that those sirens are visited every year by a contractor that updates the repairs that can be done and realigns that radio signal so that we can now get the diagnostic signal. That allows us to troubleshoot them without waiting until they break. Again, this is nothing we've ever done before. Right now, we just break them, fix them as they break them. The top item, though, is the one that addresses those 17 that when they do break, we're not going to be able to replace them. So we can do a couple of different things here. One, we can start a replacement plan for those 17, 1, 2, or 3, as many as you want to start. Understand that once we start those 17, we're probably going to have to move through all 17 of those. They all have the same problems and went in approximately the same era. Or we just take them out of service when they reach end of life. I think legal would advise that we don't leave them in place not working. If we're going to take them out of service, we literally need to take them out of service. And if we do that, we can promote alternate means of notification. Like we said, there are other ways to get weather information if we do that. It's just kind of a decision we need to figure out if we are going to crack the code on replacement of sirens. Now, we've talked in the past, other ways to get weather information. There are other ways to get weather information, and we're not the only place in the country that's had to face this issue of, as sirens age, are we going to replace them or not? And we're just not really at a good point in time for me to make a strong recommendation about that, because so many of our sirens are new that we're undoubtedly, if we put some preventive maintenance in them, we're going to get another 15 years out of them easily, perhaps 20 years of those 80. But we have these ones on the bubble, and that's if we do some preventive maintenance. But these 17 are definitely in trouble one way or the other. So we kind of have to decide what we could do. What my staff member that works with these did is recommend that we take 3, we replace 3, and then use the parts from those 3 as protective measures for the next couple of go out. So it's not necessarily 3 every year. We could take 3 out and then use the parts from those 3 to fix the next couple that break. But we honestly, it's a crapshoot. We really don't have any way to know. Cold wind takes a toll and they break when they break. So my recommendation is you kind of figure out what your long-term strategy is. Like I said, we can get 40 years out of the sirens if we do preventive maintenance. And mind you, no siren except for these 17, no siren truly just dies. They kind of tend to be like a car where they have more repairs over time, and you get to the point where this particular repair makes you wonder whether it's worth replacing or not. These 80 are not like that. The majority of them are at a point where we can fix a minor thing and move on with them. But those 17 are the kind that will be a fatal flaw where if something happens in the computer, that's fine. But if something happens in the bell of it that's subject to the weather and the rotation, those we simply can't replace if something happens. And so again, these are not things that have been on our budget before. They're both kind of proactive maintenance replacement issues to put on your radar screen. It's just a matter of what time or if you want to broach those. I'll answer any questions you have about that.
Good information. Thank you, Whitney Shipley. And I wanted to go around the room and find out if commissioners or anybody in the room had any questions. Commissioner Kavanaugh.
So on these 17, if we replace them all, what's the unit cost per siren?
About 30,000.
Whitney, so this is I'm sure it's a really stupid question. Are all of these sirens sitting in easements? Do we own the property that these sirens are sitting on?
With the exception of a few, yes.
And now, and there are no, we're not, we don't have to encumber funds to pay I mean, if
No.
we're not leasing any property.
Purely mechanical costs, no.
Okay.
Anything we do with related to sirens is purely related
All
to
right,
mechanics.
so my only other question is, does FEMA not follow, is FEMA following a federal mandate that those sirens have to be in place? You offered, I'm not saying, I'm not making an assumption that we don't have to replace sirens. What I'm saying is, does FEMA follow federal statute and say, if you do not have a siren here, you better have X, Y, and Z? And if you don't have X, Y, and Z, you're not getting any cost sharing and there's not gonna be any help.
No. No
Are they
requirements
helping?
related to sirens at all.
Do they help at all? And you and I didn't really touch on this. Does FEMA help with any funding to actually help replace sirens? Or-
FEMA's free contribution to the process is the two mechanisms they provide, that phone notification and the weather radio, that is federally funded warning. So that's their contribution to the effort. What we do on top of that with regard to sirens, which is a standard, I mean, we're by far obviously not the only people to have it. But no, the federal contribution to the effort is through the weather radio broadcast and the phone alerts.
Okay. Anybody on Zoom have any questions? I don't see any. Anybody else in the room? Whitney, do you anticipate, my final thing, do you anticipate this week or at some point, you and I have discussed this where we maybe talk to Lori and try to at least inform commissioners about how you'd like to approach it during this budget cycle? So,
Meet with
I mean, you have some
Look at
ideas.
options.
Yeah, you have some ideas about how you'd like to charge forward through this budget cycle. I mean, that gave us a bunch of options, but there's no specifics, so I didn't expect any. Nothing else? That's a lot of good stuff in a short period of time. Do you, nothing else to add? Anybody else have any questions in general? Larry? Nothing? Okay, with that, I don't believe we have a need for any executive session, so we're going to call this meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone on Zoom.
So
Thanks, Mike.